Find the exact value of the sine of 105 degrees. All right, so the first thing we note here is if you look in your unit circle, there is no 105 degrees. Right? Remember, the unit circle gives you the sine and the cosine for very specific values, right? So sine of 105 is not there, so okay, we cannot get this answer that way. Also, you cannot use a calculator either. It wants the exact value of sine 105 degrees, which is we don't want the decimal answer, okay? We need to use an identity in order to get this result, okay? And we want to use an appropriate sum or difference formula. Now, we're using the one for sine here, so of course, make sure you use the correct one. Okay, and a couple things here, right? We know that 105 is 60 plus 45, okay? And, think about that. The reason why we're doing this is because we actually know what the sine and cosine of 60 and 45 are. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, we can use 72 plus 33, right? That's nothing wrong with that. But, of course, there's no point in doing this, right? Because we don't know what the sine of 72 or the cosine or sine of 33 is. Okay. Now, remember, we can always use a difference formula as well, right? But, of course, we want to pick two numbers where we actually know the sine and cosine of, right? So, for example, 150 minus 45. Okay, we know 150 is on the unit circle and 45 is on the unit circle as well. Okay, now, most of the time we always use sum formulas. I don't know why, it just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we'll say, hey, I know that the sine of 105 is just the sine of 60 plus 45. And using the correct sum, in this case, the sum formula for sine, right? So what I mean by that is the sine of A plus B, right? That's going to equal sine of A cosine of B plus the cosine of A times the sine of B. Oh, I forgot to write A in there, okay? All right, so this is the sum formula for sine, and we're going to use 60 and 45 degrees. So the sine of 60 plus 45 is going to equal the sine of 60 times the cosine of 45 degrees plus the cosine of 60 times the sine of 45 degrees. And once again, these values we know, right? We should know what the sine of 60, cosine of 45, cosine of 60, and the sine of 45 are. Let's plug these values in, right? The sine of 60 is rad 3 over 2. The cosine of 45 is rad 2 over 2. Right? Plus the cosine of 60, which is 1/2, and the sine of 45, which is rad 2 over 2. So when we go ahead and simplify, we get rad 6 over 4 plus rad 2 over 4, which when combined gives us rad 6 plus radical 2 all over 4. Remember, we cannot do anything here, right? We can't combine these. It's just radical 6 plus radical 2, all of that divided by 4. We call this the exact answer, okay? We don't want the decimal answer. For example, punch this in your calculator, you're going to get some decimal result, right? We don't want that. We want the exact value.